Hello everyone, welcome to Audio Half Reviews. Today, in honor of Crash Bandicoot's 25th anniversary, I'll be talking about the very original game, Crash Bandicoot. Now, before I get started, I do have nostalgia for this game, so if anything seems a little too positive, I guess you could say, that may have a hand in it, so I don't know that for sure. Anyway, Crash Bandicoot is a tough game, I'll just say that. I'm sure you all already know that. If you haven't played it, I'm sure you've heard it a lot through reviews and stuff. But if you haven't, it's a hard game. I wouldn't quite say it's as hard as other games that a lot of people compare it to, but it's still not an easy game. And normally, I'm not a big fan of when a game is just like overly hard. Like, I can understand it being challenging, but not when it's just like punishingly difficult. Luckily, this game isn't quite that. At least when you're trying to play it normally, like you're not worried about getting 100%, you're just trying to make it to the final boss and stuff. Now, when you're trying to 100% the game, or 101%, or whatever kind of percent it is, that's when it becomes a nightmare. I mean, the concept of what you have to do is easy enough, like you just have to make it to the end of the level after collecting all the boxes and without dying. But trying to accomplish that is very difficult. The controls for the game are fine, at least, again, whenever you're trying to play it normally, but the problem is, this came out before the DualShock controller came out for the PlayStation, so you have to use the D-pad. Even if you have a DualShock controller, you can't use them, so you have to use the D-pad, which can be a real pain on your thumbs. And yes, this still applies to even if you're playing this on a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 3. The only time you can set it to a joystick is if you play this on PSP or in some parts of the world, the PS Vita, where you can manually set the controls. But it is something you can get used to. I mean, it still is kind of a pain on your thumbs whenever you're really trying to play it, but it's not like something so bad that it's just unplayable. It's still very playable. Now, if this were a more open 3D game, then I could see using the D-pad being more of a problem, but because of the way the game is, where it's mostly like a hallway where there's some 3D to it, but it's kind of hard to explain, but there is a reason why they call this Sonic's ass game, is because it's a 2D game turned on its side, or turned a certain way. Now, if you wanted to compare the level design to a more modern, not Crash Bandicoot game or games, then look no further than the Boost Formula Sonic games. I know that's a much newer example, but basically if you've played games like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, and you use modern Sonic, or what's considered modern Sonic, you basically know kind of how Crash Bandicoot works, where you mostly go down a hallway type thing where it's some 3D, but you're mostly going on a straight path with some curves here and there, and then eventually you may run into these 2D sections, or side-scrolling sections, where you go side to side. The difference is, I do feel like Crash Bandicoot does it a lot better than Boost Formula Sonic, because at least with Crash Bandicoot, you're not encouraged to just go absolutely fast unless you're doing a time trial, because, you know, he runs at a good pace, where you can mostly see what's ahead. And whenever you get to the side-scrolling sections, you're not just doing side-scrolling. You can still go up and down. Like, you know, it's still technically kind of a 3D space, just that your main goal is going side to side. And to be honest, that was a pretty good way to transition people into playing 3D games, because it's still kind of a 2D game, but you can move around in 3D. So you still have a lot of like 2D elements, and you're just like learning the concept of 3D. This is from back in 1996, by the way. The graphics are sort of aged, but they don't look as aged because they didn't go for a realistic look. They went for a more cartoony look. And again, it's not like perfect, but I feel like it aged better than some PS1 games. And of course, I also like the sounds and the music of the game. So overall, while this game has some elements that haven't aged as well, I still rather enjoy this game, at least on a casual playthrough, not on 100%ing it. The definitive version of this game is in the Insane Trilogy, but if you wanted to play the original version of this game, you're not going to have a bad time, as long as you can handle using a D-pad in a slightly 3D game. And unlike Mario 64, this game is still fun to play. Now you hear how dumb that sounds? Now, when you say that in the other way around, it also sounds pretty dumb, because these games are very different. They may be both 3D games that came out in 1996, but they're different games, so they have different appeal. So, you know. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to this video, ladies and gentlemen. It is mostly a listening thing. Don't forget to like this video if you like it, and subscribe if you want to see more of these or any other types of videos, and thanks for watching.